Just after we learn part of Sayid's backstory, here it is in the flesh. Sayid's flashbacks are all done with translation convention, where we hear the lines in English since none of the actors actually speak Arabic. This comes off as kind of odd since Jin and Sun's flashbacks are done entirely in Korean, but I can't blame the producers for this situation. Anyway, Sayid is here working with his friend and supervisor Omar when he's distracted by Nadia being brought in. She's suspected of being involved with the terrorists Sayid's group is looking for, so of course he's the one assigned to question her. They were childhood sweethearts who haven't seen each other since then. This leads to some fun times until a month passes and Nadia still hasn't given any information, so Sayid is ordered to kill her. He helps her escape but can't come himself since his family would be killed. He's also forced to kill Omar, then shoot himself in the leg to keep his cover. Before she goes, she writes the message we've seen on her photo. Sayid finds a cable that leads into the ocean and starts following it into the jungle. Then it's back to Jack and Sawyer and more of that irritating technique of let's exposit about things we all know about so the audience doesn't get lost. Though it also features Sawyer calling Jack Dr. Quinn, so it's not a total loss. Kate has apparently decided that she's in love with Sayid now, something that was just as quickly dropped, though it could have been pretty fun later on. Sayid is caught in a trap and left to hang there for hours until someone finally cuts him down, and my sympathy for him over Jack increases exponentially. Quite impressive for a guy who we just saw stick bamboo under someone's nails. Jack treats a random survivor named Sullivan who turns out to be a hypochondriac, and yet somehow he'll eventually turn out to be candidate number 1 in Season 6. It makes sense if you don't think about it. Locke comes back from hunting with another guy named Ethan who I was immediately suspicious of since the actor also played a creepy villain in the sadly short-lived sci-fi series Threshold. He's also Tom Cruise's cousin, so you know he's got to have some issues there. Walt asks Locke if he can go hunting with him, and Michael shuts him down as brusquely as possible, as the writers have decided he's going to be the jerk of the episode for no reason that I can see. Sayid is chained to a bed and hooked up to electrodes. Oh, how delightfully ironic. His captor is the woman who made the distress call, Danielle Rousseau. She's named after Jean-Jacques Rousseau, a follower of John Locke who made his own adaptation of Tabula Rasa, stating that people are basically good and decent and will always evolve that way if left on their own. And if you can tell me what the hell that has to do with this character, you're probably full of crap. She's also played by Mira Furlan, best known as Delenn from Babylon 5, and somehow I can buy perfectly that the producers didn't think we'd be able to tell her accent isn't French. Michael continues being a dick, telling Walt to find a way to entertain himself despite having shut down his attempt to do just that. That character development was nice while it lasted.
Dude, can I borrow this?
What?
Thanks, man.
Hey, Hurley, what are you doing?
I'd be more amused if that wasn't the usual view all these people have to sharing information. Sayid picks up on Danielle's asking about someone named Alex, but then we move on to more questioning about things we already know. He also says that Nadia is dead, which is a lie he has no particular reason to tell. Jack, Michael, and Charlie, for some reason, are called out to see that Hurley has built a 2-hole golf course to give the survivors a recreational outlet and keep everyone from going nuts.
All the stuff we gotta deal with, man. This is what you've been wasting your time on?
Dudes, listen. Our lives suck. Everyone's nerves are stretched to the max. I mean, we're lost on an island. Running from boars and monsters. Freaking polar bears.
Polar bears?
You didn't hear about the polar bear?
You've got to love those fleeting moments when the show is self-aware about how little these people talk to each other. Oh, and did you catch Michael dismissing Hurley's attempt to give people a way to entertain themselves? Nice. Danielle shows Sayid a broken music box that her boyfriend Robert gave her. Sayid offers to fix it, which gets him injected with a sedative without explanation, because that's just how people on this show roll. With that, we go to commercial, and come back to a joke that if anyone didn't see the punchline coming the second it started, I really feel sorry for them.
This is the problem, man.
Yeah.
I know what I'd do, but it's gotta be your call.
Okay. Give me a 7-iron.
Got it.
Man, even when Charlie isn't saying anything, I want him to shut up. Sayid wakes up with his hands free, and Danielle tells him she and Robert were on a science team. Ah, wonderful, magical science. It explains so much. They were shipwrecked on the island, though we don't get the full story on that just yet, and everyone but her got some kind of disease that forced her to kill them, carried by some other people on the island who she only calls the Others. And she also says something about the Black Rock just so we can have a big reveal later.
Jack is golfing.
Because you know him so well, right? Sayid fixes the music box, which turns out to be magical as it picks the exact right thematic moment to stop playing. They hear a noise outside and Danielle leaves, and she talks about one of the bears, so it seems they had already decided that whole Walt creating a polar bear thing wasn't going to work, despite still building up to it a few more times after this. Bastards. Sayid breaks out but leaves Nadia's photo behind. I'm not sure why they felt the need to focus on that, but whatever. Meanwhile, everyone else still plays golf. You know, these two storylines aren't exactly thematically complementary.
Safe.
Ah, crap. Do over.
It's a mulligan. Mulligan. It's a gentleman's sport. You gotta get the words right. Mulligan.
Shut up, Charlie. Michael loses track of time until Walt has to come find him. At least he does sincerely apologize, until it's ruined by his telling Walt he can cut in line of people waiting to play, and then immediately neglecting to give up his own turn. Guys, what are you doing? You had this great thing going with them getting closer together, and now you've thrown it all away for this cheap comic relief story. Sayid finds Danielle, but the gun he took has been disabled. Now she wants to kill him so he won't leave her. Seems kind of counterintuitive, but hey, crazy person, that can explain anything you want. Sayid somehow talks her down by sharing an epiphany he had sometime when we weren't looking, that he can't just keep holding on to the hope of seeing Nadia again at the expense of bonding with the people around him at the moment. He also explains that Nadia's message on the photo is, "I will meet you in the next life if not in this one." And nicely enough, we will get to actually see that happen, in the sense that she's married to his brother while he's still macking on his hot blonde sex puppet. But I guess it's the thought that counts. Finally, Danielle says that Alex was her, quote, child, unquote, which for me at least immediately signified that Alex was a girl, as there's no other reason for her to use that word instead of son or daughter. Anything for a foot massage reveal. The golf comes to a close as Sawyer takes a step towards integrating into the group. We don't get to see whether Jack wins, but I'm guessing he did because he is the perfect hero and can't fail at anything after all. Meanwhile, Walt goes to Locke to learn knife throwing. Can't see anything going wrong there. And on his way back, Sayid hears the whispers that Danielle told him about. We'll eventually learn what they are in as cheap and perfunctory a manner as possible. My score for Solitary is 8 out of 10. Sayid's flashback is very compelling and suspenseful, even if they do have to have him lie for no reason to keep the surprise at the end. And as much as the two island storylines clash with each other, at least it has the excuse of the golfing people not knowing what's happening with Sayid. What really brings it down is the sudden and pointless demolition of Michael and Walt's arc, and Danielle spending just a bit too much time being pointlessly evasive, even when we already can't trust anything she says because she's crazy. This is also the first time the infamous Others are mentioned, and marks the point where the producers knew the show had caught on and they could start developing a larger myth arc. Which of course also means that they have no more excuses for not knowing what they're doing, so from now on I'm not going to be letting any continuity issues go.